wondering, aren't we really talking about the ability for Minnesota, in borrowing from an educational term, open enrollment, trying to create a place where people are going to open enroll their businesses, because without people working, none of the taxes, whether you talk about them being regressive, progressive, or whatever they might be, are going to happen. If someone's unemployed, as many are right now, they're not paying taxes. Was mentioned earlier, they're paying their property taxes, yes, but they don't have any income. So I would hope that someone would have the rational thought that says, how can we as a legislature that represents this wealth, sort of this luxury liner that's sitting at the dock with 2 customers coming on board, how do we get more customers? My belief, maybe I'm wrong, is that if you would create a much more open enrollment kind of welcoming opportunity for businesses to come to Minnesota, or current businesses to expand their businesses, employ more people. The more people that are employed, the more revenues come to the state of Minnesota, and we can continue to have a great state that we have. But unless we do that, we're shipless in the river. We don't have an engine. There's nothing going. And until the legislature engages themselves in looking at how do we help this state and all of us create more of those jobs so you can have the revenue to do the things you have to do, I don't see us going anywhere. Am I wrong?
Recently, we did an examination, sort of a summary view of what various business climate rankings say about the state of Minnesota. We looked at tax climate rankings, we looked at general business rankings, we looked at new economy rankings to try and put it all together to sort of see where we stand as a state. And it was really interesting because, you know, consistently we score very high on a lot of the sort of public good types of things. Still, you know, there are obviously concerns have been expressed that we're losing our competitive edge in education and things of that nature, and maybe the argument can be made that we haven't seen the fruits of that underinvestment yet. But when you look at what the rankings say from CEOs, business press, academics, et cetera, you know, clearly the things, education, workforce quality, et cetera, we still come out on top. The one area, frankly, that we still continue to perform below the national average, ranking consistently 31st, 32nd, 33rd, is the cost of doing business in the state of Minnesota. You know, so you have this chicken and egg argument of it. Well, is the investment in public goods necessary to restore our competitive advantage, or is it we have those assets in place and all we got to do is sort of lower the cost of business in the state to take full advantage of those competitive assets and public goods? And you know, it's a debate that needs to be had, but I think that there is evidence to suggest that, you know, we've got a lot going for us right now. And if we just work strategically to lower the cost of business in the state, we can create that type of welcoming environment and make a lot of hay out of it.
I think the catch-22 in this question is the part that's the reason the legislature and the governor struggle to solve the problem, which is, yeah, there might be 2 people in the luxury ship, but they have to want to go to a destination too to buy the ticket. I mean, where is that ship going? And folks don't want to come to places that don't have anything, and they cost money. So, you know, I've had this personal experience in my life. I lived in Oklahoma City for a while. Everybody who had a dime sent their kid to a private school because the public schools were failing. There was no sort of cultural stuff to do. There were no professional teams. There were all the kind of things that people look for. Higher education system. There were no stellar colleges there. So if you want to be the lowest cost, no tax place, you will attract those who don't want anything. And there are certainly people like that. People who choose, they vote with their feet to live in a state that really doesn't have as much to offer. Minnesota has a tradition in recognizing that not only do people want, you know, a lower tax, cost of doing business, they also want all the stuff, like a great public school system and a great higher ed system and all these other things, a good transportation system, a good commerce system. So that has to be paid for. So that's kind of the, you know, how do you deal with that? But, you know, I agree with you on the margin. Minnesota cannot afford to become the highest taxed in anything. We have a lot of folks who believe that doesn't matter. We have a lot of people in the legislature who thinks that's all that matters. And I would argue they're both wrong. The ultra conservative who says we just have to have the lowest tax and everything and it'll be great, I just disagree with that fundamentally. We won't have money to buy anything that people want. The most liberal person who says, you know, let's just put taxes through the roof because we can't cut anything and we can't reform anything and everybody wants anything, I just disagree with them too. Because on the margin, people absolutely will leave. They will not pay that marginal cost, whether it's their company or whatever. So you can't get too far to the margin, yet you have to have a system that's fair. I think what gets lost in this debate all the time, and I challenge folks to try to learn about this and push your legislator on it, you could abolish corporate taxes completely and cut other business taxes if you get rid of some tax expenditures. They cost money. I put in a bill a couple years ago to eliminate all these little subsidies for this, that, and the other thing. It raised $400 million. You know, and I think business gets a bad rap in Minnesota, where people think, well, they all just come to the Capitol and they ask for a handout. Most businesses in Minnesota do not ask for anything. Yet the legislature continues to award the business that does get the lobbyist who says, I need this extra credit for me, or I'm in this industry and I need this special incentive that, boy, all the rest of you don't get, or I need all this, you guys to build this thing because I'll create jobs and all your competitors don't get that tax benefit. They actually pay more in taxes because someone else is getting a tax break. Generally, businesses in Minnesota, my interaction with large CEOs and small business owners is most people want, you know, stay out of it, lower our rate, broad. And the misunderstanding I think that happens with legislators is they think every business is saying, you know, we have to do all these things, and we don't have to do them. And that grows the deficit, and it embeds more unfairness. So there is one way to find those tax cuts for businesses that we need, and that's to stop all these tax expenditures that are handing out things in a kind of a strange way, that if you actually read through them, you wouldn't understand. Now, why does this industry not pay the sales tax? Or why does, and it's because it's been successful attempts at the legislature and an unwillingness to look hard at them and undo them.
Well, I would like to thank both of you for being here today.
Thank you.
This has been great. Well, so thank you. Thank you very much. I do just have a couple more announcements here. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Brian Lake, who's in the back of the room there. Brian Lake's last day with Twin West is next Wednesday. He has been offered a great opportunity for a newly created position at the Minnesota State Bar Association as a lobbyist, and I know he will do a fabulous job. We would have liked to keep his skills and talents with us for a while longer, but we were happy to have them as long as we did. And Brian, thank you for all the work that you've done on behalf of the business community. And also, of course, we'd like to again thank our sponsors, Grand Casino Mille Lacs and Hinckley, Park Nicollet, Payroll Control Systems, Robert W. Baird and Company. Thank you, all of you, for being here this morning. Have a fabulous day, a great weekend, and remember, December 11th, we'll see you back here. Thanks, everyone.